Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron, New Life Pentecostal Church, Albany, Georgia. The complete Dead Sea Scrolls in English by Geza, Vermes. Now, when I was a new Christian, mid-'80s, late '80s, you know, the Dead Sea Scrolls, this was like this big scandal in the scholarly community because they were kind of being hidden in Jordan. And so, I forget, was it Michael Eisenman or somebody that went over there and said, can I see him? And he had like this micro camera and he took pictures while he was looking. They didn't know. And he came and so he came out with a translation. They'd been 40 years trying to translate these things. And so finally they were like, okay, we better get these translated. I've been to Jerusalem, been to the Museum of the Book with the famous Isaiah scroll, and there is still so much to it. You know, most people, it just, okay, the Essenic community, this was the Essenes that did this, and they had, and so going there, I had the great honor and privilege to go there one time to see what the community looked like and how they had mikvahs everywhere, and would basically, in some cases, they estimate baptize themselves every day, which is fascinating because they live in an area that gets 1 inch of rain a year. So you had to have, not wells, what do they call them? Not ossuaries, something else. But estuaries, not that either. The name escapes me. I'm 54 now. Things escape me much now. But anyhow, where you catch the rain and these type things. So some people think it was Ebionites that were there, which were basically like when you're reading Genesis 20, the book of Acts, not Genesis, Acts 22, 23, 24, where James says there's many Jews that believe and they're all zealous of the law. That would have probably been the Ebionite community. So some people think it was actually a Jewish Christian community there. If you follow Bill Cooper, there's tremendous evidence that there are New Testament references. I've done several videos on that in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Some would say that it was an eclectic community, that they all fled from the Roman legions during the Romans' destruction of Israel. So you had kind of a conglomeration of people there. So like your Herschel Shanks and your Robert Eisenman are two of the leading authorities on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and neither one would think that they were Essenes. So that's kind of just a popular mythology. Some people think that's where John the Baptist came from. But the best thing to do if you want to know about the Dead Sea Scrolls is just to get this. Like, this is a Penguin book. Penguin Classics are a great way to do this. In Geza Vermes. Excellent. Now, I have not read the entire Dead Sea Scrolls. The best overview I have ever seen from a King James perspective is in Thomas Holland's Crowned with Glory, because he goes in to the different textual traditions of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the different Paleo-Hebrew writings, and great job with the dating of it, because there's like a Genesis scroll that many people think are from 300 BC, and it's shocking the amount of Paleo-Hebrew Dead Sea Scrolls there are, because that would lend great credence that the original Old Testament writings, at least up until 500, 550 BC, were in Paleo-Hebrew. There's a couple schools of thought there. Obviously, the oldest writings we have in the Hebrew community, Paleo-Hebrew, but some people think that it was original, what we call Biblical Hebrew, lost Paleo-Hebrew translation, and then Hebrew came back. Most people reject that now. Most people would say that Ezra or someone had some blending of Paleo-Hebrew with some type of Aramaic and created what we call modern Hebrew out of that. So this has Thanksgiving hymns. The times I've read this, I'm shocked, like this teacher of righteousness, and I think maybe because they translate it with that, it sounds so much like Jesus. It's like, I don't know. But there's all kinds of targums, which are like paraphrases. So let's just look at the contents here. and let you see a little bit what's on the inside of this. And you can get these things so inexpensive. Now, I would recommend this size edition rather than what's known as the Penguin Classics edition, which is smaller. And you see, Penguin Classics, I'm so grateful for the Penguin Classics and the other companies that do that, because they make classic literature very affordable to people. And ideas have consequences, and these things have shaped our culture, especially in times people forget, like TV didn't become a household thing till the 1960s. So you're looking in the last 50, 60 years, has it become household. In the 50s, it began to gain predominance, but there were many people didn't have have televisions till the 60s and even beyond. Now they estimate, they come out with these shocking statistics periodically, that there's more people with televisions than have running water and all this kind of stuff. So this is just a good addition, and this is considered one of the top 5 archaeological finds of all time. Some people would say the top, and it wasn't a one-time find. It was several, like 11 different finds over the course of several years. And a little boy, he was in that area, and he kind of threw a rock, heard some shattering, and it was Dead Sea Scrolls, what we call the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so they began to look in the various caves and found other troves of literature, and that climate being so dry was perfect to preserve that. Now you have like Steve Green there with the Bible Museum, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I want to go to the one in Washington, D.C. I saw it when it was in Oklahoma City, but they say it's such amazing in Washington, D.C., 4 blocks from the Capitol or something. I think that's just a great thing that he bought some Dead Sea Scrolls, and they're kind of proving that they were forgeries, even though there's pushback to that. I think Emmanuel Tav, who's considered like the top guy on the Dead Sea Scrolls currently, said, I'm not totally convinced they're forgeries. Last I read, he may be now. So the complete Dead Sea Scrolls in English by Geza, Vermes, recommended. God bless. Talk with you later in Jesus' name.